1 week before our wedding, I, 34F, discovered my fiancé, 30M, plans to meet up with an old fling. Update, have discussed it with him, new info follows original post.in. I've been with my partner 4 years and we are getting married this weekend. We have good communication skills and trust and fidelity have never been an issue in our relationship, nor has jealousy. We don't really discuss past partners very much, but we are aware of important prior relationships and generally can discuss these comfortably. When my partner was young, 22, he met an older married woman while in a foreign country together and they had a fling. I know this relationship was important to his personal story. Upon returning from the foreign country they met up once at her place when her husband wasn't home, fooled around, and as far as I understand that's the last time they saw each other. He told me that one time she seemed to suggest that she would have left her husband to be with him, and that was the point he knew he was in over his head and at risk of ruining her life as he did not reciprocate that level of feeling. Their relationship would have been about 8 years ago now. I'm not a heavy snooper but we do share a lot of devices and sometimes I'm not proud of it but I do snoop lightly just out of curiosity sometimes. I have seen that over the years she sends him the occasional LinkedIn message, he's not on Facebook, to say hello, update him on her life etc. These are only a couple times a year, they are not lavish or strange messages, and notably he only responded once with something nice about remembering their trip together and that was before he met me. Since then he has not responded to her handful of brief check-ins, we're in the same town etc. However, I had to go in his email a couple weeks ago for something pertaining to the wedding organization and I saw she had messaged him again, that she would be in our town in a few weeks and that she wanted to take him out on an evening/time a few weeks from now. I didn't think much of it, certainly she doesn't know he's getting married, it's not like they have been messaging. And as my partner is honestly a little bit thoughtless about replying to messages I expected he'd just ignore her. But it still weighed on my mind as the country they traveled to / the trip he took came up in conversation with friends just a few nights ago and I thought he might take the opportunity to say funnily enough I just heard from her, or something like that. As weeks passed with no mention of her invitation I logged into his LinkedIn just to assure he had not replied or anything to her and in fact he had, saying very simply that he would love to meet and she should name the place. Now, I trust him, I don't believe / he has never given the faintest indication that he carries a torch for this woman whom he hasn't spoken to in years. His more serious relationship with another woman was right before me, and I don't exactly believe he plans to step out and cheat on me. We've not really had any problems lately, he has seemed happy as normal, etc. I know I've already been crazy by snooping, and that I'd be being crazier still to get upset so prematurely. The most likely scenario is that there's no inherent reason why he can't have a dinner with a person from his past, maybe close an emotional loop, tell her about how well his life turned out since then and about his marriage. I am assuming actually that he probably does plan to disclose and discuss it with me. For example, how would you feel if I had dinner with X and that he is, correctly, waiting until after the wedding to ask me about? The proposed meeting is after the wedding, as it would be weird to ask it just a few days before our wedding. But I can't help but have feelings come up. I'm annoyed that she contacted him. I definitely have a richer romantic history with men than my partner has with women and I never really tried to get back across a dinner table with people from close to a decade ago. Like girl really? Why does she keep contacting him, and what would be the objective of this dinner? And I can't imagine asking him is it okay if the older man who swept me off my feet when I was young comes to our town and takes me out? I know I haven't really hung out or spoken with him since the last time we almost boned in his wife's bed while she was gone, but I just want to know how he's doing these days. I don't want to be an insane spying girlfriend who doesn't let my partner hang out with other women, friends, etc. just because they have history. But up till now we don't have the kind of relationship where we hang out with our ex-lovers. I am trying to manage my feelings on my own as I should not have snooped and I should have let him discuss this with me. I imagine the reason he has concealed it is that he's worried I'll leap to conclusions or be neurotic as you can see that I'm being. Lol nope, just gonna be neurotic in private on Reddit. My plan right now is to just wait till he brings it up and then share what I've said to you here. I trust him and I'm not against it, but what might she be expecting? How would he feel if I had similar meetings with men from my past? Are there going to be future meetings with this person? She doesn't live in our country, or is this a one-time thing, etc. So I guess my question is, how would you manage this? Should I just fess up that I snooped so we can discuss it right now rather than have it overhanging the wedding? Is it fair if I would like to hear what's the point of him meeting up with this woman who, despite being married and now with a baby, still has not forgotten him after 8 years? Is it fair to feel a little hurt that in the week before our wedding he was able to send her a yes sure let's meet message without wanting to run it by me first? He couldn't include I'm getting married this weekend in the reply to at least set her expectations? As I said, he's a bit thoughtless about text/messages and things like that, so I'm trying not to prematurely be mad at him or read things in, but I don't know what to think. TL, Doctor, 2 weeks before our wedding a married woman who carries a torch for my fiancé messaged and asked to take him out on a date that falls 2 weeks after our wedding. He replied that he'd love to and has not discussed this with me yet. Am I being crazy, and either way how should I proceed? Update. Thanks for all your wonderful advice. I decided to fess up to the snooping and ask him about what I found. I said something like, hey, I know this is going to sound crazy for a couple reasons and I'm sorry, but were you planning to meet up with after the wedding? We ended up having a long and very honest conversation, during which he said that because he knew the meeting would be harmless and a complicated situation would have made me needlessly upset, he replied without discussing it with me. Further conversation, though, revealed he really had not thought this through very well. He did not really have an answer for when were you planning to tell me, and when I asked would you have pretended to be doing something else, gone to dinner with her and lied to me about it, he confessed that he did not know. He was not defensive, did not try any of the I was just waiting to discuss it BS, did not need prompting to disclose that he had planned to meet her, didn't try to lie or diminish anything. The thing I really need to stress here is that at no point, including now, do I believe his motive for meeting her was that he still had feelings or wanted to rekindle an affair. Had he gone to dinner with her, I do not believe anything physical would have happened. The problems are A. Going behind my back and possibly planning to lie, and B. that this woman remains in a weird and complicated kind of emotional denial and he had some kind of people-pleasing instinct that for some reason made it easier and more important to him to acquiesce to her than to do the hard work of talking with me. According to his explanation, the woman maintained a great deal of guilt after her affair and the only way she could deal with what she had done was if they stayed friends, because then it would have been a friendship instead of an affair. Yet I brought up the fact that since the affair, the one friends meeting they did have resulted in them fooling around and the friendship she longed for had not ever in fact materialized. It seemed he believed that meeting up with her as a married man would finally create a sense of closure on the affair for her. But when I pressed him on this, why is closure for her more valuable to you than honesty with me? Are you going to start our marriage lying to me to avoid my feelings so that you can take care of another woman's? Why did you not let her know with your reply about your upcoming wedding to frame things for her? Supposing you have a nice friendly dinner, what is next? Further contact, future meetings or no? How do you know she believes in this friendship versus a pushy denial that allows her to keep contact with you? He did not argue or defend, but seemed to immediately realize the wish for a meeting made no sense and that he had done the wrong thing. Like, what kind of logic is that? The way for me to heal from my affair is to keep meeting with the partner from 8 years ago as friends so we can pretend it never happened? He says he fully thought they would have had a proper above-board catch-up which would have made her feel better about things, but he also agreed that it came apart as soon as one looked at it and that just taking the path of least resistance had been easier for him than trying to unpack this. I told him that had it not been for the imminent wedding, I would have let the meeting come and go and he would have returned home to me and my packed bags. I reminded him I had always been very reasonable about friendships with women, exes, etc., and that if he'd come to me confessing that he hoped to close the loop on an element of his past, I would have been supportive so long as the boundaries were reasonable and that he communicated with me about what had been discussed. I reminded him that he would never be in this position with me as I don't continue to meet up with men I've slept with and that he had better think through what led him to go behind my back in this way. As for the snooping, I apologized and admitted it was wrong for me to dig, but he was not bothered about it at all. He said he thought I had a right to pursue the issue when I saw the message and that he might have done the same. In the end he said he was glad I took initiative on this now, because this confrontation forced him to unpack something that was messy but relatively unimportant to him once I asked him to examine it. I was satisfied with the way the conversation went, in that he acknowledged all my emotions were fair and that he had done something wrong that could have potentially had serious consequences. Again, I think this would be a slightly different post if I believed for 1 second he still had feelings, physical or otherwise, towards her, but I think it's more he's kind of emotionally young, dislikes upsetting others and chose the route that would have caused him the least discomfort. He says he has realized from our talk it would be stupid, pointless and misleading to meet up with her. I've encouraged him to think it over, plan out the communication strategy with both her and me better, and that I still would not stop him going so long as whatever he thought he could resolve was carried out in a sensible, truthful and above-board manner without avoiding communicating anything to her or me. He probably will decide not to go, but I am not having the I went crazy jealous and told him who he could and couldn't talk to narrative around this, or stopped me from resolving things or whatever. It would probably set a better path for future if he did go and we proved as a couple we can navigate situations like these in a communicative and adult manner, and that no artificial cut-offs of people who have been important in our lives have to happen without a dialogue. Now, this doesn't mean I'm happy with things. In a way it was a bit worse than I thought. I figured that he was going to talk it over with me but wanted to wait until better timing after the wedding, but in fact he confessed he hadn't necessarily thought through how to handle me in this situation. I told him I found this disappointing and a violation of trust, and he agreed that it was. I told him I might need a little space to get over the fact of him thoughtlessly planning to meet an old fling during the week of my wedding, and he said he would understand. I'm sad and disappointed that if I hadn't snooped, and if Reddit hadn't encouraged me not to wait, he would have even considered lying to me, going behind my back, and putting the apparent needs of a relatively unimportant, obviously messed up in the head ex before respect for me. He knows this is a big fuck up, but still, given the fact we have not had any other remotely gray area incidents with trust, jealousy or exes in our past, and how honest and fair he was when confronted, I'm still not having second thoughts about the wedding. I think he has learned from this, is genuinely sorry, and that such a thing will not happen again. How serious do you think this is, given I trust that explicit cheating was not his motive, the meeting would have been harmless in his view, and that he really was just kind of being a thoughtless people pleaser? He completely heard, understood and acknowledged all my concerns, made apologies and promised to do better in a way that satisfied me for now. And see, we have never had anything like this come up before. TL, doctor, he did knowingly go behind my back and might have even lied to me over a meeting that he was fully convinced of being harmless, but claims he didn't think it through. Fielded all my concerns in a loving and satisfactory manner, knows he made a big mistake, promised it won't happen again. Hi guys, I promise to love you. If you like, comment, and subscribe. I think that in light of the fact you have a wedding in a few days, I would just bring it up lightly. If you don't, I fear you're going to spend your whole wedding day thinking and doubting instead of enjoying marrying her. So, tell him you were in the inbox for wedding stuff and happened to see her email and his reply. Keep it light and non-accusatory and ask if he is actually going to meet her. You could probably even throw out there that with the wedding coming up you're feeling particularly sensitive to this and just wanted to hear from him why he's going, but that you do really trust him. Just give him a chance to explain his side. It sounds like you have a fantastic relationship with no reason to not trust him, so I'm optimistic there is a logical and satisfying reason for it. Situations like this are so hard, especially when we weren't there. I wouldn't be okay with this. I don't know, when asked such important questions wouldn't be enough for me. My husband, 34M, cheated on me, 33F, while I am 8 months pregnant with our second child. My husband and I have been together for about 8 years. Recently he went on a trip and hooked up with someone. He swears they didn't actually have romance but did everything else. I wasn't on the trip because I'm 8 months pregnant and not allowed to fly. He thought that I would be upset but would get over it because we used to have an open relationship back in our 20s. He wants that open relationship again and basically has said that in 6 to 12 months after the baby is older we can discuss it and reevaluate. He said that if that's not what I want, then he'll make the divorce as easy for me as possible. I feel like he has ruined my entire life. I can't sleep at night. Sometimes I fall asleep at work or on the couch a little bit after work. He just sleeps peacefully next to me like he has done nothing wrong and everything is fine. He acts like things are totally normal between us, and when I'm not nice to him he asks if my back hurts or if I'm having contractions, like there is no reason for me to upset with him. He is trying to make it up to me by taking me on lots of dates and doing more around the house and stuff. I don't know what to do. I feel trapped because of the kids. Daycare for both of them will be my entire paycheck until our oldest starts school, about 2 years. And even then I don't know how I can possibly afford to raise 2 kids. Or be a good parent to 2 kids all by myself. Being a single mom sounds like a nightmare to me. I just feel like my whole life is ducked and has fallen apart and I can't do this. I told my husband I don't want the baby I'm pregnant with, and that was the only thing I've said that concerned him, and he suggested maybe I get therapy. I'm too embarrassed to talk to my friends about this. They all thought the open relationship was stupid back when we did it, and I think if I try to talk to them they'll just tell me I knew who my husband was when I married him, so what did I expect? My parents are dead and I have no one but myself to rely on. I just feel like I have no good options: stay with a poopy butthole selfish entitled cheater, or leave and be completely broke and alone and exhausted for 18 years and raise my kids in a poopy broken home, and I don't know what to do. TL, doctor. My husband cheated and I'm pregnant and I don't know what to do. You shouldn't have to pay for daycare or other child expenses alone. Those are his children too. Equally his responsibility. Get a good lawyer and secure a fair child support agreement. That's what I thought, so I looked up a child support calculator, and it turns out child support isn't nearly enough to actually support a child. Even if I had full custody, the child support payment would be less than half of daycare for 1 kid. Beat him to the punch. As soon as you have the baby and are well enough, serve him with divorce papers. He's trying to bully you.